It's no secret, grip and forearm health is very important. He's really engaging everything from his fingers.
I've got the entire forearm completely extended and I roll it down to my fingertips.
He has a good resting point from his knees. And we've been exploring these 3 different movements when it comes to developing a more robust grip and forearm strength capabilities. Saw DJ the other day, we were kind of playing around with some flexion extension type movements for our forearms, and I saw him on the bench and I was like, this is probably one of the best setups that I've seen for the forearms that feels safe to kind of load a little bit heavier. You want to walk us through it?
Yeah, just trying to find an isolation point. No secret, I've been hurt quite a bit in my life and had a lot of thumb and wrist injuries, and I felt like anytime I would drop this thing over for a wrist roll or a wrist curl, I can only get it to a certain point, and I felt like I couldn't get the max contraction out of it. I'm playing around with leaning, and then I finally I accepted it one day, and if I drop my shoulder over to the bench, it kind of takes everything out, and it really gives me a point of isolation. But if I drop it all the way over, I've got the entire forearm completely extended, and I roll it down to my fingertips. The entire point is nothing but a contraction now, and I can actually flex this completely. And now I'm not in risk of putting my shoulder in a compromising position. If I try to lean my shoulder off the bench just a little bit, there's a lot of pressure on it. If I just lean all my body weight onto it, takes it out of the equation. I don't feel any pressure, but I can get a full stretch, full contraction, and a full flex in top.
I really like this movement because it kind of allows us to load that tissue with a heavier dumbbell, and where we don't have like the machines that we can isolate our forearms, we kind of have to be creative with how we load that tissue. And this sort of setup right here puts DJ's shoulder in a pretty safe position to load this because he has the support with the bench, but he can load this pretty heavy with a 40-pound dumbbell as seen here. Whereas if he didn't have this setup, we might be in that 20-pound range, but it really allows him to kind of provide a progressive stimulus that we can apply these higher levels of stress. But DJ, as you watch there when he was getting out of this, it's getting out of it with 2 hands. It's kind of a pretty safe setup that I feel comfortable watching DJ push through some heavier weights with this.
I love watching arm wrestlers and doing the whole thing. You see them getting these really precarious situations, and that's where I feel like my shoulder's gonna pop out of socket. So instead of just accepting that or running the risk, take 2 hands and lower it into a position. But I feel like this is where it gets dicey for me. So if I just put that shoulder on the bench, I take it out of the equation, it's nice and safe. I've loaded 230 pounds on it, and now the only thing I'm really focused on now is just the forearm, the full contraction.
And we'll run this with a couple of the other movements we're about to roll now at the end of a posterior day and end of a core day, just to kind of add some extra grip, some extra forearm, really try to take care of those elbows and wrists. Let's move to the next one. All right, for the next setup, we're gonna go with this wrist roller. We don't have a wrist roller machine, so we just use the edge of a barbell. Definitely something we add in at the end of a posterior day. But this right here, we're just gonna wrap it through a kettlebell. It's gotta be heavy enough that we have enough of a stimulus. And when you see people put the band over, I think it's very important that we give a double wrap so that the band kind of stays where it's at as you wrap in, move it up and down. What do you think about this one, DJ?
I grew up the old school. We had the broom handle with the rope on it. The issue is when your forearms get stronger, I feel like you get in this compromising position where there's so much weight, you're just trying to get through the motion instead of focusing on the intent, the actual motion, because it's so much pressure on your front delt. For me, like, it get me in an awkward position. Now I'm just trying to end this movement as fast as possible. For this one, you don't, because front delts are taken out of it. So I really focus on each hand, making a full independent rotation, and then in the reverse on the way back down. Full extension, all the way down. But now, I don't have to worry about front delts or some kind of other muscle fatigue taken into it. But yeah, like you guys will see when you get on this thing, it'll take you 4 or 5 rotations until you really start to feel the tension. I focus on each one being independent.
Once it starts to get that lift off with the kettlebell, you start to feel all that weight, that band starts to wrap. And like DJ said, he's owning each part of this. He's not rushing through it. It's this long duration when it comes to the endurance of your grip and forearm strength, just really loading that tissue, controlling it. The band, we really have had no problems with the bands. We use the Rogue Monster bands. There's nothing really crazy about them, pretty reasonably affordable. But the durability of them when it comes to the edge of the barbell, we've had a lot of success with it. No really issues with tears or whatnot.
Sometimes I tell guys when you're going in the reverse, the higher you reach over and get a purchase, now I have to control it to full arm extension instead of just doing short grips. Really try to maximize, hold the intensity, be able to stop, pause, own it throughout.
I really like this one in comparison to that first one because that first one's very isolated movement, where this one, as you watch DJ's doing it, as he's getting that full purchase, he's really engaging everything from his fingers up to his forearms, up to his elbow, even getting up into that shoulder. It's really kind of this whole complete segment from his shoulder to his hand of really challenging his grip, his forearm, and that endurance aspect of it being so long. So we'll do like farmer's carries and suitcase carries, but this is a great way to kind of isolate that rotation and that movement. All right, that first movement was really focused on isolating flexion. The second one is really kind of integrating everything from the hand up to the shoulder. And this is another setup that we've kind of used to isolate the extension portion. We don't have a machine for grip, but I really like this one. I have the grip, the band on the inside of the hand leading to the thumb. So I kind of have to balance that rotation and he leads up. He has a good resting point from his knee so he can really isolate that extension so he's not donating too much strength from his upper arm into the mix, and really just allowing that band to kind of pull him through, own that range of motion, and then from there, really lead up and strengthen it. We have the accommodated resistance from the band, but this is a pretty easy load profiling when it comes to the strength that you can apply, make it easier by grabbing further away in the band, make it harder by grabbing a little bit deeper. Where do you feel this one at?
It naturally wants to collapse my wrist down, so you're trying to fight it through the entire way, like trying to be slow and controlled. It's trying to pull my hand, because primarily the band tension's on my thumb, so I'm trying to fight against that to try to keep the back of my hand level. And then at full extension, I can watch each muscle group engage, but I'm trying to focus on them. Like, how tight can I hold it, how tight can I squeeze, and then not letting it collapsing back in. I feel like a lot of them, if you get so much band tension, you're basically compromising your whole position just to get, a 1/4 inch of extension. Drop it down a little bit. I've still got plenty of pressure, but I can get a full extension. I can hold it in control. It's not making it so hard that you're having to compromise something. But steady pressure throughout. These things blow my forearms worse than anything else we do.
I feel like it's a very smooth contraction as well, because it's like every inch, it's not like there's no momentum. Whereas maybe if we were to do this with a dumbbell, there's kind of like a jerk with the pattern, where this, it's like, if you jerked it, it would feel very awkward. So it's like you get to own every inch of that, at that range of that movement.
Yeah, because even on dumbbells, you'll get into a rhythm where you're basically just swinging. It's almost like a kettlebell swing with the wrist. It's not what I want. I'm trying to be able to hold it. But a lot of times there's so much weight you can't hold it, not even for a second. It's like, getting barely any motion. This one, I feel like you can get it up and hold it for a second. Play around. The subtle little wrist movements in here. Steady pressure pulling me in position, but now I can control it. Just being a little playful with it. We talked about it before. Extending out waist and just trying to develop that wrist strength, the overall hand connection to the forearm. We were talking about it earlier. There's things in the military and first responder lines where when your grip goes, it's never coming back. Like caving ladder climbs, like rope climbs, anything. Like when the grip goes, it doesn't matter what your adrenaline does, it's over. It's like not a lot of people train it because not a lot of people have been victimized by their lack of grip strength. Like I have, Cole has, Jay have. Anybody who does it long enough, you start to peel off things. You're like, now I see the importance of grip. It's just those 3 easy movements. It's a nice transition, cap off a positive day, hit every aspect of the forearm, the wrist, the hand development, and really a connection to it. But it's not so much where you're blown out for a week.
Those are 3 movements, really isolating flexion, isolating extension, and then as well getting some rotation involved. A lot of details involved with these, but they're not too stressful that we can't apply them to a regular arm day or at the end of something else, but just something we like to add in once or twice a week to really fine-tune those details of our grip strength, forearm health, and definitely take care of our elbows when it comes to the rotation that's involved there.